Okay guys, this is video 169. Started doing videos January 1st of this year to somehow speak for our two daughters we're adopting from Liberia.
It's been a long year.
And 125 days ago we decided just to come live in Liberia and roll the dice about that and see if we could get our kids to come home with us. We're still working on that. It's not going well. We have rumors, so there all the documentation, rumor has it that all the documentation to lift the suspension and resume adoption activities, which would essentially help us get our kids home in the next weeks. We've heard that it's all sitting on the desk of the Madam MOG and that she can sign it and lift everything. Her staff's prepared the documents for her. She's in favor of lifting the suspension. The suspension was illegal to begin with, so it should have never been done. It's interesting to me that she has to sign it because she's been traveling. So it's interesting to me that she's the one that has to sign it because she's the head of the MOG. But the suspension was signed by someone that's not the head. It was like way down the food chain. So it's just interesting to me that we have to wait for her to return from vacation, basically.
Good trips.
Maybe then we heard she wasn't coming back till next week, like Monday or Tuesday. And then we heard she's coming back this week on Wednesday or Thursday. So we don't know what to believe.
Maybe she thinks we're on vacation, so she should go on vacation.
Mm-hmm. The Hadelofts are coming to see us again tomorrow to celebrate getting their daughter's visa, and then they get to fly out, I think, on Wednesday. So we'll get to have afternoon celebration with them at the beach, have some snacks, you know.
See the unicorn child that gets to leave.
Mm-hmm. Yep. See a Liberian child get adopted, which is crazy because the reason that she's getting to go, her adoption was done July of 2023. So she's just been waiting on U.S. immigration to fix one typo.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with her. It was like...
I wonder how many people sneaking across the border have a typo in their paperwork. Oh, wait. They don't.
So, it doesn't matter. So the pawn shop thing. So we drove past a pawn shop. We drive past a pawn shop fairly regularly. I am dying to go inside of a Liberian pawn shop. Like, I just want to know, because I know what people pawn in the U.S. I'm dying to go in. I want to go in there and look at that pawn shop and see what's happening.
So fun things we saw today. We saw a limousine of KKs.
It never ceases to amaze me.
It was a 3-seater, and it was classy for KKs.
Yeah, and we saw this.
And I wanted to get a picture of it, but I didn't get a chance to. But
I'm going to pause real quick, and I'll show you what we saw painted on the back of a van. Okay, now that's a 15-passenger van-ish, but they put 4 to 5 people per row. They open it up from the back. The windows are kind of, and they put probably 25 to 30 people in a 15-passenger van. But it said "Respect Smith" on the back, and we were like, yeah.
You better.
You better.
So I was going to buy a new cooking pot today, so I went to the Mega Mart.
Well, the pot that we have, we borrowed from the restaurant, but it's like, it's got so much grease on the bottom of it that it's like a coating you can't get off. We've tried Brillo pads and everything, but you can try to get it off. I got it all off at one point.
I think it's the pot is just disintegrating itself.
Yeah, and everything we eat's kind of got a little hint of metal. And there's like, on the bottom, it's back again because the oil and the grease, and there's no ventilation in our kitchen. It's just like cooking in a little like ceramic box. So it's just grease just caked on the bottom. It's like makes a paste. You can't get it off.
But it was like the new pots are $80.
We just washed the inside.
$80 was the cheapest one, and I'm like, I'm not gonna buy.
I told you, just buy a stainless steel pot. Maybe we can find one like $20 or something.
Maybe we should go to the pawn shop.
A used pot. There's some excitement.
Just check the bottom.
So yeah. So I mean, I didn't know. We saw. What else did we see today? Sorry.
I don't know. Can we call? Instead of Madam MOG, can we say Madam MOG? Sounds like a Harry...
No, I don't. It sounds I don't want to sound derogatory. I think that she's a good person.
Sounds like a Harry Potter character, though.
I think deep down she's a good person, and she's caught in the crosshairs of this, that she doesn't really know much about it, and
that's depressing.
I don't want to I mean, I feel like there's a few corrupt people at the MOG, but I feel like the majority of them are they're good people, and they want these kids to have homes. Most of the people that are employees at the MOG, if you look at their age range, they grew up at the very end of the war. So they're war orphans, survivors. Even if their parents made it, they survived. They're children of war. And they may have been really young when the war ended. but they remember that time. So I have to believe that each one of them actually does have a place in their heart for the well-being of these kids. Some of the kids we have, both parents are dead. I mean, we have at the orphanage that we know, both parents are dead. One's dead or gone, and one's disabled or physically ill, can't work, doesn't have a job. There are times that there's just multiple kids to be cared for by families. Our daughters were in the care of family members, not their biological parents, for the majority of their life. Just kind of passed around, trying to keep them alive. So yeah. So we had a good visit today. We did have to tell our Liberian daughters. I spent a lot of time talking to our older Liberian daughter. I'm not sure that the younger one necessarily understands everything that I say. But I know the older one does. And so I talked to her about it, and I was like, so if the suspension doesn't lift and the government doesn't let adoptions start happening soon, we may need to go back to America so we can go back to work for a little while and save up some money and come back and get you later. Because, and I explained to her, and I believe this, I want to believe this, I choose to believe this, that the reason for the suspension, the reason for the delay is that the Liberian government wants to make sure that these kids are going to safe families and that the adoptive families are good. And that they've heard that some of the agencies and the adoptive families are not good, and the Liberian government's just trying to make sure that they are good. And so the intent, I have to believe that the intent is good. And that's what I told her. And she took it in. She looked a little sad. She kind of took it in. She went and wrote a letter to me, and she wanted to know how to spell all of her American sisters' names. And she has started signing her name with our last name. So that's her name now, instead of her other last name, her birth name. She's excited to come with us. I told her that if we do have to leave, that Daddy will leave and the sisters will leave, and then I'll come back for you. And the thing that I told her, I was like, the one thing that I know for sure is that I'm not leaving you in Liberia. You're not going to grow up here. You're coming with me. I just don't know when. So, and some of the other kids, I have pictures of their future families and videos of their future families. So I can't share videos of them with their families, but I can share videos of their families with them. And so that was fun to do, because now almost all the families send me a weekly video or pictures or just something where the kids can connect with what their future life looks like. So it's nice because there's, just where they're going to be. Some of the families are in the mission field. Some that like outside the U.S., some of them have like farms, some of them live in the city, some of them are like Disney parents, and they're like not Disney parents in a bad way, like where they give their kids everything, but like Disney parents, like they went to Disney recently or whatever, and like there's a video showing like kids playing with Legos, like their sisters in America playing with Legos and swimming and just things like eating ice cream, like just normal American things to do that we all do with our kids and did it as kids. But these kids haven't done any of that, really. I mean, they had ice cream one day because we took ice cream there for one of our kids' birthdays. They may have had some pizza here and there. I mean, the orphanage director does his best, like once a year, to take them out of the orphanage to do something special. But first of all, transporting 36 kids is near impossible. And second of all, they don't have a lot of extra money right now. So, my Liberian daughter has already crocheted a circle that's this big. She wants to make a tablecloth. So I gave one of the nannies, Krubo, who's very sweet, I gave her some money to go buy some more yarn. I'm like, is it a big deal for you to buy? Like, she bought like 10 rolls, and then I took 5 of them, and then I left 5 there. The kids have already used them. Like, they're already using them, so quick. So I'm like, oh. So I gave her $10 to go get 10 more. And I'm like, is it a big deal for you? Like, is it out of your way? She's like, no, it's literally like in my village. I walk by and they sell it, and that's what I get. So it's gracious enough for her to do that. So these nannies are precious. Like, they really love the kids. Some of them are a little more outgoing than others, but they are all very sweet and nice, and they know the kids well. And you'll see the kids. You'll think the nannies, they'll be working on something, doing something. They're there, but they kind of step back a little bit when we're there and kind of give us space to play with the kids. But they're there, and you'll hear one of the kids crying or something, and then you'll hear this voice. Like, they're watching, they saw it, but like, we didn't know they were really watching. But they're like, come here, and they'll talk to them. They'll get on to them. Like, you hear this voice come from nowhere that's like, tell so-and-so not to hit such and such, They're just, they're kids. They're crazy. But today they colored with a lot of markers and colored pencils. They've about fried those markers, haven't they? It takes about a week or two, probably 4 or 5 visits before just the use of the marker is they're being good with them. Like very rarely are they like not taking care of them for the most part. And they put all the caps back on. They only get 1 marker at a time when we're like canning them out. But like a pack of 24 markers, just the ink is gone. And with that many kids using it, so.
Yes, I thought you did a really good job explaining to her our situation. And
Our daughter, our oldest daughter, our Liberian daughter.
Yeah, and I was super nervous about the whole thing. It's not fair, and I was nauseous about it today.
Yeah.
Just knew it was coming. I wasn't sure when the hammer was going to drop.
I told her kind of in conversation after everybody kind of looked at their videos and stuff. She took it well, I thought. And it's not happening yet. And I told her that. I was like, my American kids told me that too. They were just like, we can't just tell them and then go. Like, we need to give them time to think about it, process it, like, understand it, give it time. Don't just spring it on them. Some people think it's better just to rip the Band-Aid off, but my American kids were not okay with that. They were like, we like to know things as soon as you know them. And since you've talked to us about this, you need to also talk to them now about it as soon as possible. And I respect that. That was more coming from my middle child, my 10-year-old. She's like, are you telling, our Liberian sisters this? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, maybe. And she's like, you need to tell them. So I respect that. So we told them.
Yes.
I just want them to be in the loop, and I want them to understand. And the nanny, the nanny that's mostly in charge of everything, she was sitting on the porch behind me while I was talking to her. And she was just listening. And she was there. There's 2 of them actually there today, listening kind of. They're just there. But Jeremy asked her afterwards, like, how much do you? She's like, she gets it. She understands. And we've prepared them that may happen. They know. Because it happened to another family. And there's 3 kids there that lived with their adoptive families for a month or more and had to be returned to the orphanage while we wait for U.S. immigration. So they know that can happen. We've never been able to take them out of the orphanage, but they also know that until they're on the plane, they know that it's not a done deal, because they've seen this happen with their peers. They've had another kid come back, go with their family, come back. 4 kids actually. One of them's at home now. One of them made it home to the U.S. Her adoption was complete in October of 2023. She got held by U.S. immigration and then got approved. So it is what it is. We may get held by U.S. immigration. We may not be able to complete their adoption for another year. And that's a whole different thing. Like, but for now, we just want to keep them.
At least that's like actionable. Like, we know what to do
Posted.
if that happens. Like, this waiting is not actionable. We're just literally sitting here waiting at the mercy of
people we think is actionable to a point.
We think that people that care about the kids, but there's no urgency behind their care. So is it really caring?
I think the actions will speak louder. So I put it on our Facebook page, and I mentioned the Ministry of Gender, Children, Families, and I do believe that they have the kids' best interest at heart. Specifically, the ones that I've met, they have the kids' best interest at heart.
Well, they're not thinking futuristically, because if 3 adoption agencies in your country shut down, do you have the bandwidth to handle another 100 kids?
No, they don't. The kids will not make it.
So they need to think about that. Maybe use the noggin.
So here's the other caveat too, and one of the reasons why we were like desperate for, like, if you want to donate to our adoption, we were pretty desperate for funds. Because
it's tax deductible.
Since we can't rent our house out in Florida because our homeowners association is basically barricading that with their own greedy hands out. We can't afford to stay here much longer. Like, we're talking like 2 weeks, maybe. I don't know. We may make 2 weeks in one day after we got some donations today. But we I forgot what I was saying. We can't just stay indefinitely, but we want to stay as long as we possibly can. But so let's say that the suspension gets lifted tomorrow, theoretically. Wednesday, let's say it gets lifted Wednesday. We may or may not be able to get our case history report by Friday. So let's say we get it on Monday. Get our case history report signed Monday, and then we get court dates with Liberia. That's nothing. That's like a Tuesday. We could go on Tuesday. We could go today. If we have paperwork today, well, maybe not today, but like this morning, if we'd woken up with all this paperwork, we probably could have talked to the judge into working it in today. That's how excited the judge is about adoption. He'll work it in. He's excited. He's ready. But all the adoptions in Liberia have been paused, meaning there's 3 other agencies. Our agency has 8 families in queue that I know of, ready to go. There are also 15 to 20 unmatched families that have paperwork in Liberia waiting for matches. And once you get your match like that, it's usually supposed to be 6 months, 6 to 9 months from there. So potentially there's several families that could be ready to go, but our agency, the New Horizons agency, has I think 4 ready to go, and I assume AFA has 7 or 8 because they're bigger like we are. So that's 8 plus 8, 16 plus 4 is 20. The U.S. Embassy last year was only allowing appointments for exit interviews for families to get your visa every other Thursday. There was talk of them going to every Thursday, but since the suspension, they haven't done any appointments. So if they do every other Thursday, let's say the suspension gets lifted Wednesday and we get our stuff done, they will only do appointments every other Thursday. You have to live in Liberia for 30 days before you can leave. So typically your embassy appointment is 3 weeks in. We could get ours sooner because we've already been here for 4.5 months. But our agency in Tennessee has to send paperwork to IAAME, which is the U.S. State Department monitoring entity for adoptions internationally. So because we've been suspended for so long in Liberia, we're kind of in trouble with IAAME as well. So that paperwork can take 1 to 2 weeks. So we can't get an embassy appointment until that paperwork is done. And the embassy appointments are only, so let's say, but not everybody has to talk to IAAME. All these other agencies, they are under that kind of system. Well, AFA probably is, but New Horizons is not. So let's say that New Horizons going and books out 4 Thursdays for their families while we're waiting for IAAME. That puts us in August, first week of August, before we could get an appointment. And keep in mind, we're competing with those other families to get those appointments. And if it's every other week, only 12 families will finish their adoptions this year. If they push to go to every week, only 24 families will finish their adoptions this year. And I just laid out 20 that are in queue ready to go. So the embassy will still be our rate limiting step. And that's all the weeks for the rest of the year. So 12 if you do every other Thursday, 24 if you do every Thursday, and that's if you start counting the first week of July, which we won't be eligible for even if they lift the suspension this week.
And we know they're not fans of adoptions, so they're not going to do anything to help us.
No, they're not going to help. So the logistics, when like people are like, oh, maybe it'll work, maybe it'll work. I just want you to know that like when we say that this is like, we're asking for an absolute miracle, this is like multiple entities that have never moved have to move. Multiple things have to open. Multiple doors all at the same time have to open for us to get our kids home before we run out of money. If we can get custody of our kids, we do have a grant that has not been released yet that will be released from Gift of Adoption, but they don't release their grants until you're on either your last trip or your court dates or whatever. So until we have custody of our kids, they won't release their grant basically, or plans of that. And so during the suspension, we can't get that grant. So desperate times.
So pivotal next 2 weeks.
Pivotal next 2 weeks. I forgot what you said earlier that I was like, you should totally say that. The pawn shop thing is pretty funny. Oh, the limousine KK?
We talked about that.
Yeah. There's like cars stuck in potholes today and just gave up. And I'm like, they're just sitting there. What should we do? I don't know. I found a duplicate charge, so I went through all of our expenses. So if anyone really wants to know how much money we spent on groceries, transportation, hotel cost, and orphan care, I have 4 categories of those things. And those are the 4 things that we've been pouring our money into. It's substantial, I'll tell you. We've done some good things with it, but we're basically like shortening our lifespan with our diet here and lack of exercise. And then because there's no good, we don't have an oven. There's no produce is a little sketch. We have fried chicken every day.
If available.
Yeah. If you can find it, it's still kind of like, who grew, where did this come from? There's no air quality.
Water quality.
All of that. We're paying a lot to shorten our life. A whole lot. And you guys who have helped us, you're paying a lot to shorten our life. But we don't just need this signature. We need an insurmountable amount of things done rapidly. So.
Yep.
And, it'd be nice if the U.S. government tried to help us, but I mean, you would think they want me to come home and start paying my big taxes again. This is going to be our weirdest tax year ever.
Nope, their anti-adoption rhetoric is more important.
I've already worked less this year than I worked the year we had 2 maternity leaves. 2013, we had 2 babies born in the same year. We had 2 maternity leaves. It was hard.
Good times.
But I made more money that year than I'm making now, that I made this year, or will make this year. There's no way I could, in the last half of this year, make up what I made that year. And I was home with 2 different babies at 2 different times. So I had a maternity leave March to May, and then another one October to December. It was hard.
Pressure cooker.
So, I think our Liberian daughters will accept it and deal with it if we have to leave, because what choice do they have? I think it's an unnecessary trauma. But
And more expense.
it is. So our tax deductible link, and all the families that are struggling in the same boat that we're in, that have adopt together profiles that I know of, are included in our description. If you're one of those adoptive families that are waiting with our agency, and I don't have your adopt together profile in our description, let me know and I'll add it. I think I have them all, but I don't know for sure. And I don't want to add it without someone's permission either. So I hope I asked everyone's permission. I think I did. Anyways, those are all the families that that's ways to make tax deductible donations, and those are families of children that we've come to know very well. So
Yes.
we appreciate all the efforts on our behalf. The card fundraiser ends tomorrow, so if you didn't get a greeting card, get one. I'm wearing my noonday white breezy tunic today, so if you want a noonday shirt, that's for sale on the Adoption in Liberia bit.ly link on the description. And I put my Venmo on there too. Some people just like to do the Venmo thing. So as we limp along, the donations that we've gotten in the last 45 days is what's kept us here this long. That got us through June.
Yeah.
So we're still kind of facing July and possibly August as potential times to stay.
But
So
it's really dependent on the next couple of weeks.
we're pretty discouraged about just the overall lack of support we've gotten from either the Liberian government or the U.S. government, as we have tried to save the lives of these kids. So the governments cry out for help. They talk about the statistics of all these kids in both the U.S. and Liberia, and the things that they really need are just families that love them, that won't hurt them. And we have offered that both on U.S. soil and Liberian soil. And it kind of seems like there's no takers. So is it really a problem that you want solved? Is my question. Because the court of public opinion, the American people that we know in general, based on our fundraising support, based on the outpouring of encouragement that we've had, both just non-monetarily and monetarily, I would say that the American people support this. But it's sad how much the American people have to compensate for a government that represents them to not do their job.
Yeah, if it doesn't represent the will of the people, is it doing the best thing?
No, it's not. It's just costing us more money to do what's right. So,
Well,
thank you to all the families that sent video greetings to your kids. It meant a lot to them. And if you have never sent me one and you want to send it now, you can just message me and I'll tell you how to do it. There's a couple ways. There's only like 1 or 2 ways to do it where I can actually download it. Our next visit is Thursday, so Wednesday night is your deadline to send me a video card for your kids. It means a lot to them. Their face just lights up when they see it's like mail day at camp, it's like the mail call thing is a big deal, so they get really excited. But yeah,
yes.
we need more help.
Come on, people.
Thank you guys for your help so far. I'm sorry if we keep having to ask for more, but we will keep asking as long as somebody's listening.
One day,
or until we're done.
One day we won't be this down. It'll lift up eventually.
Yeah, it will. And thank you to Nelson too. Nelson and Emmanuel, man, they just keep encouraging us. Keep helping us. Keep encouraging us. The kids at the orphanage are going to miss Emmanuel. He's like a celebrity there. They're like, Eman. He's funny. He lets them sometimes listen to his, like, how his earbuds work. His headphones. I think it's funny.
Isn't it interesting that our Liberian friends are much more supportive than our own government?
Oh, way more. But our Liberian friends are more supportive than the Liberian government, too. But
That's true.
I'm still hopeful, like, the Ministry of Gender in Liberia still has the chance to blow me away this week. And if they do blow me away, I'll be less likely to want to take legal action. So, all right, that's all I got.
All right, bye.
Bye.